Yo, what's good, YouTube? My name's Adiar. Welcome to A Dude and His Anime. And I saw this video from Otaku Spirit that came out. I believe it was a day, maybe two, it was about a day ago that I saw it. Mushoku Tensei should exist. Now, some, I have some things that I suspect this video may be about. I'm curious to see if he's going to touch on what I think he's going to touch on because I did see recently his video um, going over the most controversial episode of this season easily. There's a post that he was addressing that I watched and very much liked. But I'm really curious about this because I was gearing up to actually make a video discussing the last two episodes of this season. Um, but man, Otaku Spirit's on it, bro. I'm an anime only Mushoku Tensei enjoyer. Um, it takes a lot for me to decide to move into the manga. So I appreciate that. I very much appreciate his channel because when I'm finished with the episode, I can seek him out and know that I'm going to get extra information that will make me appreciate the episode more. Um, and it's just that with me, you gotta understand the thing with me and manga is I've got I've got three kids, so I've got I've got a lot of expenditures on the monthly basis, and I don't want to go illicit routes to get manga or to partake in it. So if I can't afford to just buy them all, I just stick with the anime. So that's just how I am. But anyway, I'm kind of rambling. I'm sorry about that. Let's get into this. And please go show Otaku Spirit some love. This man puts in a lot of work with his breakdowns of the manga. Um, and you can tell by the way he talks about it that he very much resonates with this anime on a level that may be a little bit deeper than a lot of the watchers. And I can appreciate that. It's hard to it's hard to it's hard for some people to like actually take in like really connect with characters and shows sometimes, and I think he really does, especially here. So yeah, let's just get into it.
Mushoku Tensei is easily one of the most, if not the most, beloved and hated anime franchises of all time. It's hard to go a
I
week of
believe
its
that.
airing without seeing some sort of argument about moral choices, Rudeus's horrible nature, or how revolutionary and daring its storytelling is. Rudeus's journey has never been a pretty one, opening up as a disgusting reject of society and growing into what we see now: a father, a husband, and more importantly, a son. Whether you believe Mushoku
We could just stop right there and just like hell, you could talk about that forever. Like I tend to not get into the online discussion of all revolving around the animes that I'm currently partaking in because I am afraid of spoilers and y'all can't keep your mouths shut for shit. Let me tell you what. I signed into Facebook one time and I got spoiled on everything JJK in 30 seconds, bro. It was crazy. God damn. Oh boy. But I digress. Even just like reading comments on the episodes when you watch them, it's very clear to see that people struggle. I don't know if it's maybe it's just Rudeus in particular and the nature of how real of a person he is portrayed to be with his flaws. But I feel like people struggle to I feel like people struggle to empathize with his character quite a bit. Um, but anyway, tangents. Once again, start the video. What am I doing?
Tensei is a 10 out of 10 franchise or something that shouldn't exist, I myself believe that Mushoku Tensei is perfect because people hate it so much. Because people can't stop arguing about it. Because it makes you confront difficult subjects. Because it makes you think. Too much entertainment is just that. Entertainment. Turn off your brain. Watch an explosion. Watch the self-insert impress the crowd with his OP magic. But Rudeus is different. He's a character. He's a person. And just like us, he's full of flaws and stains. Whether people want to accept it or not, that's what makes him feel real. His struggles,
Yep.
while messy at times, are a foundation for what I feel is its biggest achievement: relatability and regrets. It's easy to relate to the
Like
harem protagonist.
think about two other like massive isekais, if you will, for example. Let's just take, I don't know, the two that pop in my head, like the two biggest that pop in my head other than this would be Overlord and Slime. And they both just go like the massive power fantasy route. Here, yes, Rudeus is strong, but Rudeus also has some. Rudeus from jump was fighting his demons. And I think to even to this point, he's like, I mean, he's clearly still fighting them. Like he just he doesn't, so far at least, he doesn't ever reach this magical point where everything is just fine and it's all perfect and dandy, and now he's just the most powerful person in the world. Like maybe he'll get there at some point down the line. I don't know, but an imperfect MC is more interesting to me than a perfect MC any day of the week. Period.
Number 5064. There's nothing
Right.
about them to conflict with your own personal belief because they lack beliefs. But Rudeus, for anyone who has gone through trauma, mistakes, been at their worst, seen the edge of a blade in their own hand, is proof that time after time, there is still hope. That even if you don't score a big win the next time you get back on your feet, the next step, maybe just the next step. Because hey, if he can do it, why the hell can't I? But additionally, for those viewing the said person trying to take that first step, you're able to accept that drive. Because like Refugin once said, if there's someone like Rudeus close to you, and that person were to have a slight change of heart and try to start over, I sincerely hope that you won't abandon them on the spot. Rudeus is a culmination of bad choices, an example of missteps, that can really be seen as almost a test bed to correcting one's path. You want to see what choices he makes, root for him when he's trying to claim the gold, and intrigued as he steps into an expansive world that he's surrounded by. Season 2, Part 2 brings us what I would consider some of the greatest segments of Rudeus' story thus far. In earlier segments, it's Rudeus settling down and becoming a husband and a father. While at first his intentions aren't the purest for having a wife and a child, shoot, there's no book or walkthrough on this side of life, but it's through his experience in loss and achieving this role that it suddenly hits him. Holding a child in his hand is different than acquiring some sort of achievement prompt. It's bringing new life into the world, taking on a role that his father once had, and shaping a future for his child.
I just want to touch on this for a minute. Man, I'm just gonna I want to talk about some of the shit that I was gonna talk about in the video and I had planned. I guess there probably won't be a need for that video now, I guess, but that's fine. It's fine. Um, I saw, especially since he's bringing up the fact that like there's no guidebook to like to going through married life and going through fatherhood and such, and it's just, I see a lot of people talk about how mentally Rudeus is so much older than everybody else and this, that, and the other. But my counter to that is he really? Is he really? Like, technically, if you're just counting the ages, yes, you're just adding two ages together. He's old. Mentally, he was older than his own father in the show, correct? But let's think about this for a moment. In it's my perspective that Rudeus in the original world mentally never actually developed to the point where his age was. And when he came back, he went through childhood again, right? He didn't go, like he has, like, technically he's an adult in this world based off of like how their society runs, but he essentially lived a childhood, was a shut-in, and then lived another childhood. Now, yes, the second childhood had way more drastically crazy things going on that would cause you to mature much more faster than in our world, clearly. Um, but I don't like I don't see it. I don't see the mental maturity that people say his age is. And people use that as a counter for why he shouldn't do X, Y, or Z so much. And I'm just like, I really just I don't see Rudeus. I see Rudeus still maturing into adulthood. I don't see him as an adult because I don't think he ever was an adult.
have the arrival of the Grey Rat sisters, and our first glimpse into how Rudeus has changed and how he sees his sisters. Once a man who dabbled in siscon and lolly stuff, he views his sisters as a responsibility for him to protect in his father's stead, even utilizing his own experiences to aid them. For Aisha, being treated like a stain upon the family by Norn's parents, Rudeus accepts her as she is, a sister and nothing less. Conflicted with the choices that Lilia made for her daughter and wanting them to be equals, it's really one of the first cases that we have Rudeus taking his own moral standings and wanting to press them upon the people of this world. Despite it being normal that Aisha is raised to serve Rudeus, and it's okay for her to be seen as the spawn of the mistress's wife, he can't accept this, and rather, he wants to treat them as equals. Yeah. Additionally, despite being pressed multiple times, he rejects even touching Aisha, which is something that he's had fantasies about in his previous life. This, while disturbing to consider, is a huge growing point for him as a person. On Norn's side, which is some of the most emotional moments, her story is a massive shock to Rudeus. Being that he spent most of his previous life and this one as a shut-in, the moment she becomes locked up, it's devastating to him. Now, while Norn did figure out her feelings on her own, the resolution to the entire ordeal had a strong impact on Rudeus himself. Seeing his sister
I've got words for Norn, okay? And I don't think people are gonna agree with me. I very much... Yeah, we're just gonna talk about it here. The videos, we'll just talk about it here. I don't need to make multiple videos. It's fine. We'll just talk about it here. Okay? Just go with me for a second. That last when Norn was going in on Rudeus in that last episode, I'm just sitting here like, okay, I get that we're trying to be kind of hands off with Norn, but can we please put this child into a child's place? Please. Please, please. Okay? She's talking like she is your wife. Meanwhile, your wife is over here with whole other things going on and whole other thoughts processes going on. Like she was literally acting in like if the way that Norn acted was the way that Sylphie acted, I would have completely 100% understood it. But like, can we please check this child? Please. For the love of whatever Millis or whoever you believe in, please check that child, okay? I get we're doing the hands-off thing, Rudeus, but can we be maybe just a little bit more hands-on and, you know, just get that in order, please.
Something by herself that he couldn't was encouraging. But additionally, it allowed him to accept the mistakes that he made in rejecting his brother for so long. Yes, his brother who destroyed his PC and kicked him out into the streets was the very one that tried to save his life over and over. It's both a message of accepting regrets and also just simply being at one's side when they need it. We then go to Nanahoshi's meltdown. Nanahoshi has always been a very interesting character in the Mushoku Tensei story, a polar opposite to Rudeus, seemingly a normal Japanese girl that wants to return to Japan. Rudeus had nothing and relishes in the idea of having this new life, while Nanahoshi finds this new world fake, rejects it, and has plenty to return to. Seeing her recent failure, Nanahoshi gives up on everything, putting her on the road to death. Everything Rudeus sees in her is like looking into a mirror in his past life. Yes, somebody that no longer wants to live, something that grabs his gut and tells him he can't let her be alone. In helping her, it's almost as if he's helping the man in that mirror, giving her a second wind in her quest to return home. That's when we get to the biggest stomach punch of this season, and really a culmination of everything that Rudeus has experienced thus far, trekking off to Teleportation Labyrinth to help Paul and Zenith. At first, this is something that he hesitates to do, making up excuses after excuses in his own head. Still, he's ultimately pushed by Norn, because unlike her, he had a choice, and simply because he has the ability to save his family. At the same time, regrets are building up inside of him. While he was playing family, his family needed him, and he made his own choice to build his own life, even going so far as to acknowledging that he picked fixing his
I don't know, something about the way that Otaku just worded that kind of, I don't know, kind of bugs me. The way that he was playing family. I don't think Rudeus was playing at anything. Maybe it could be just that he believed, like his interpretation is that Rudeus believes that he was playing at it, but I don't think so. I don't believe that at all. Rudeus was, I mean, for all intents and purposes, Rudeus is an adult in this world, and so he was, you know, He was doing what he was supposed to be doing for the most part. Uh,
D over saving his own mother. While he isn't quite settled that Zenith and Paul are his parents, this all changes after the events of the teleportation labyrinth. Losing Paul, he is faced with massive grief and a key to realization that once again, in this life, in this new life, despite saying that he'd change, he made the same mistakes again, choosing to ignore his parents as his parents. A more difficult thing to get over for a person is not just making a mistake, but making a mistake twice. This is quite easy.
To be fair, it is, just to play devil's advocate here a bit. It is very fair to understand the perspective that Rudeus did not feel like Paul or Zenith were his parents, just because, I mean, of the situation of him being reincarnated, and having kept those memories. I could see how even though, I mean, familiar attachments are they're a strange thing. And you can see this with people who are adopted sometimes, where they struggle to really connect and see their adoptive parents as parents. And with Rudeus essentially being, I mean, even though I still don't believe that he was his maturity when he passed was where it was supposed to have been. So I don't think mentally he was actually at the age that he was. He still very much was not a child. He was not a little child at all. And especially with Zenith, Paul, I can understand where all that comes from. I very much understand Rudeus's take on him really just not feeling like Zenith was his mother, because their interactions were just, like, he spent more. He didn't really do anything with her, did he?
One of the biggest growing points for Rudeus thus far, shifting from an outsider, a reincarnate, using his past memories as an advantage, to now being critically struck with a realization. There's so much in this segment that it's hard to really condense in a review. Why did Paul save Rudeus, a fake son? What did his previous parents think of him? What is Paul to him? Why didn't he do more? What if he was stronger? Did he make a mistake coming there? Was Zenith even worth saving? What if they had a better plan? On and on. The what ifs. But the key thing about all of this is Rudeus was Paul's son. He acknowledges, sadly too late, but maybe not too late. Paul was his father. Paul wasn't perfect, and he's an incredible character study in himself. A dirtbag with some of the worst life choices. But in the end, he was a father and sacrificed so much to reunite his family. A dirtbag that you can root for in the end. More importantly, he paves the way for Rudeus' own future as a father, and realizing the importance of waking up and taking upon himself the role in his family. And yes, getting out of the dark hole to realize that he had to make one more massive mistake. Probably the biggest controversy of this season, he sleeps with Roxy. Something that in the moment is tragic and unforgivable in many eyes, highlights the love that Roxy has for Rudeus in saving his life, Rudeus' own weakness, and thankfully, Sylphie's own love for Rudeus and desire for his happiness. While many will see
that episode, oh boy, the fallout from that episode. It's wild how many people. It's crazy to me that we're in season 2 of Mushoku Tensei. Damn near done with season. Like we were. It was like it was literally it was the episode before the finale of the season. And people are still struggling to understand that this world is not our world. And the only person in this world that shares our our I mean, clearly there's different beliefs around the world here, but still, like traditional Western values, or like, I mean, yeah, I mean, honestly, like a lot of people would view what would view that as Western values, because as far as I'm aware, infidelity in Japan is kind of an interesting topic. But I digress. That's not the point I'm trying to make. The point I'm trying to make here is that that episode, it shows that people have a hard time disassociating or accepting the terms of the world that the show or the manga is operating within. It's so hard for people to not push their own internal like values and morals onto the characters to such a degree, to such an insane degree, like to the point that like things like his video discussing that one guy's or gal's topic was just if I yeah, some of y'all really need to learn how to like there's people that struggle to empathize and understand characters, and then there's other people who struggle to pull back when it's time to pull back and just cut the and like cut like just it's not our world. It's not. Okay? Even in the show, in the last episode of the season, when they were talking to Norn, they're like, oh, like the only people and it seems like the only people in this world who believe in like the one spouse thing, for example, is the Melis faith. Everybody else, multiple wives is the norm. Like, so if that's the norm, maybe let's approach the subject matter as the norm. Him breaking his promise is one thing. But if it's the norm here that these things happen, then let's treat them as such. Even if we don't like them, let's at least try to understand the world that we're looking at, right?
See this as a flaw in Sylvie's character, accepting something as horrible as a cheating husband, but putting it into context
Again,
of her personal stance. This is something that she's always accepted, knew it would happen, and something that she openly admitted ever since marrying Rudeus. It's also an intriguing aspect, even though it's
I mean, it's like, yes, if we go back to the very beginning, think about it. When it's found out that Paul got Lilia pregnant, Zenith was not happy about it, right? But at the same time, he still took her as a second wife. And that was just what was for lack of a better term, what was expected to have happened, right? And they coexisted fine. Did they not?
Culturally jarring aspect of the Mushoku Tensei
Thank
world.
you.
It's a world where a majority of people openly accept multiple wives.
Thank
But
you.
that's the cool thing, that despite that you're outside of that culture, you still almost want to judge the culture. Though it also highlights the fact that in the Mushoku Tensei world, they don't have psychiatrists, and nobody really knows how to fix somebody in such a depressed state. And the willingness for Refugien to actually get into that is intriguing. It still doesn't make Rudeus' infidelity a good thing for many people, but yet it's still another step in the long run.
Here's the thing. Here's the thing for me. I don't like the fact that Rudeus broke the promise to Sophie. However, I also don't think, had they discussed this beforehand and they had both agreed that it would be fine, then I would have literally nothing to say on the matter at all. If that had been a discussion that they had had beforehand, regardless of what Sophie thought and felt what would happen eventually, if that had actually been a discussion that they had, fine. It's simply the fact that the promise was broken, where I think even I'm pretty sure that's the only point that Otaku Spirit himself kind of takes a problem with what happened. Because if the promise was not there, and especially if they had discussed this beforehand and they had come to an agreement on it, no harm, no foul at all. It was literally like, this is two adults consenting to something.
Rudeus must face, accept any consequences, and hopefully make lemonade from it. But interestingly enough, these kind of moments highlight the fact that Refugion's style of storytelling is masterclass. That while every other isekai that is full of harems and people openly accept, because Mushoku Tensei connects so well and is so believable, the idea of Rudeus having a harem upsets people, angers them. Despite it being fiction, it produces anger and
Bro,
outrage.
like, how many harem, like how many haremes have we watched, y'all? Come on. Like, let's not even act like they haven't even been popular either. Like, come on, man. Sword Art Online was just a harem. That was popular, still is.
That's a sign of how good he is at capturing an audience. Still, beyond all these moments, Rudeus is shaped by his mistakes, shaped by his regrets, shaped by his loved ones, and growing more and more by the day. Not that he's perfect or ever will be, or will end world hunger, but that he accepts his stains and attempts to walk a better path. That's more than anyone would want for themselves. Not giving up because they tread nasty waters, but grow and grow. But yes, Rudeus himself isn't all that makes this series so great. Every character in this series has life breathed into them, just as much as Rudeus. A large cast of characters that, while the anime doesn't do justice and often skips content for, all have
Which is why I watch your videos. Thank you, sir.
their flaws, weaknesses, struggles, imperfections, and values. We've seen Eloise's broken states of regrets and fears explode before Rudeus' wedding, the acceptance of Cliff and the resolve to save his wife, Zenoba's push to be an asset to his friend, shielding him from death, and constantly doing his best to be at his side. We even had a brief Papa Reserved moment, the father with a tragic past being there once again to another person be a father figure in Norn, even offering a warrior's perspective to Rudeus and his fallout with Eris, Lilia's flaws in raising her own child, yet still accepting her, putting aside her own grievances to help Rudeus in his worst moment. The list goes on and on. I can make entire hour-long videos for—
Okay, let me just stop you right there. Lilia is like a top 3 character for me, bro. I'll be straight with y'all. Like, there's so much that, like, there's a lot that she does that I'm like, Lilia. But at the same time, top 3 character for me. Like, she just is.
every single character. The depth in every character is truly remarkable. And again, their flaws are what make them so great. But yes, sadly, like I said earlier, the side characters do highlight the anime adaptation's weakness. It's an adaptation. Will I call it a perfect adaptation? Not quite. Nor that I really expect it to be. There's always things that get cut whenever something is adapted. Being someone who read the source material—
Now, I'm be straight with y'all, dog. Like, again, I said earlier, like, I oftentimes don't get into the mangas just because if I want to be able to just buy all of them, and that shit gets pricey. Mushoku Tensei is one of those ones where I'm like, you know what, I might just drop the money on it, and it is what it is. Oh, like, I tried to get into One Piece. Do you know how much that would cost me, bro? Oh God, bro. Anyway, trying to be fiscally responsible. Don't be judging me.
up to this point, there's still a lot missing in context and depth. Side chapters with Cliff and Norn, Elise shielding and protecting and standing up for Rudeus.
I think that right there, honestly, like the fact that you gotta understand, I've been watching anime religiously since I was middle school age. I'm pushing middle 30s right now, y'all. Like, your boy is getting up there. But like, there's been so few things that make me really want to just, I need to know more. I want to know more. I have to know more. This is one of those ones, bro. This is one of those ones. It's just, and as good of a job as I think Otaku Spirit does in highlighting extras that the anime adaptation leaves out, I just know there's so much more there for me to, like, really just dig into. I think I think this video was me talking myself into going and buying all the chapters that are available right now. Is that what's happening? I think it is. Oh boy.
On the bigger continent, world building aspects like spells, mechanics, cultures that are in the light novel series. Still, season 2 part 2 seen a massive improvement over the first part, handling each point of the storytelling better than it previously did. And honestly, that's the best I could ask, considering they only have so many episodes to work with.
Yeah.
Additionally, I commend the team in keeping Refugien constantly involved, assuring the fans that if any changes are made, which yes, we've seen some big ones here recently, is to the vision the author had, which for me honestly destroys any desire to be upset about any changes or cut
I'm
content.
curious.
Equally, visually,
If I could ask Refugien one question, it's now that we've had this the very massive changes that we had for the interaction between Roxy and Rudeus, which of the two would he choose if he had to pick one? That's I'd really like to hear the answer to that, and just I don't know why. I'm just so curious about which one he would pick now that he's okayed the second alternate version.
directing wise, I seen the same improvement. Gone is the constant flat shots from the first core. While still not to the standards of season 1, part 2 has some incredible animation pieces. By far, the Hydra was an incredible segment. Well, yes,
Yeah.
they used a lot of CGI for a lot of the shots, but the team did a great job of blending it to let it match the style. Additionally, overall, just a lot of the perspective shots were really well done. And Hoshi's breakdown, my gosh, Norn's just cries of sorrow. Impact shots that highlight grief and self-reflection. The importance of perfectly framed shots.
This is how I know this fucking anime is goated, bro, and how I know I just want to just really just dive into this head first is that the last 2 episodes combined took me 3 hours to get through because I was just I kept pausing and just like stopping for a minute because it was just I very much am able to, if there's anything that I think that I am good at, it's empathizing and understanding where somebody's coming from. Um, but also I was cringing like that whole time after like the whole episode with Rudeus and Roxy before the finale. Oh, oh, oh no. I felt like I was somebody's 50-year-old abuela watching a telenovela. Let me tell you what. Boy, I was like, I was going through it. Oh,
Can do wonders whenever you can't have dialogue over it. There's a lot of show don't tell that can be done with perspective shots. Despite the fact that you don't have the character talking about what's going on, simply showing something that symbolizes something can make a big difference. And they did that with this new core, I feel. It gives me a lot of hope for this series going forward, that they're kind of steering back in the right direction for the future adaptation. Mushoku Tensei continues to be one of the greatest anime of all time. Not because it's an isekai, not because it's a fantasy, not because of anything else, but
look here. If anything, being an isekai at this point in my life is like kind of a down, is kind of a detractor, bro. I'm isekai'd out, I think. Thank God for Freeran, bro. That was a breath of fresh air.
for what it does. Countless times throughout the series, I found myself reflecting on my own experiences. I cried my eyes out, seeing Paul's fading face, recalling the final moments of my own father's life. I
Bro,
cried.
y'all was foul as fuck for doing what y'all did on Father's Day. Let's just we all know that was planned specifically that way. Y'all was foul for that.
My eyes out, seeing Zenith's blank expression, reflecting on my own experience with dementia. I was pained to see Nanahoshi's weakened state, and the outburst, and grieved alongside the family over the announcement of Paul's death and Zenith's state. Very few series captures my emotions like this series does. It's in relatability, empathy, and strong development that it does. Refugien's characters and
100%
realized
agree.
world is a cut above so many other franchises, introducing a cast of characters with depth, tackling tough subjects that make you think, and pushing the envelope on storytelling and mental trauma and producing healing. Mushoku Tensei, while something unacceptable to grandstanding purists, unable to air out their own skeletons in their closet, is something special to those willing to accept their own stains and move on. Or, again, accept those currently struggling with their own sins. Mushoku Tensei is a piece of storytelling that should be accepted, should exist, and I'm happy it exists.
110,000% agree. Um, I I didn't know what I was getting into when I first started watching Mushoku Tensei. I didn't at all because again, I I tend to try to stay away from discussions about anime because I really hate spoilers. Like they almost get to the point where I get mad, you know? It's just something I can't rock with them. Like I can't. I hate it. I hate it. I hate it. And it's hard to and people get so excited when they're talking about things that like things just sometimes like people aren't even trying to spoil it, so that it just slips. And so I tend typically to avoid those spaces. So oftentimes, even though something may be very well known, like Mushoku Tensei was, I don't know what I'm getting into when I go into it, right? And I enjoy that because it gives me like my own fresh perspective on something. And then afterward I can like seek out carefully things like Otaku Spirit, for example. Speaking of which, go sub to that man's channel if you have not, okay? Goated content creator. Just straight goated. Um, yeah, I don't really I think I've rambled enough. I'm almost at 40 minutes. Holy yeah. I'm gonna call the video there. Thank you for getting this far. If you have, please throw a like and subscribe. I would appreciate you so much if you did. Thank you. Bye bye.